Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Carlton People. Now, today's guest, you might have seen him a few times. You've definitely read his work. We're talking about Ari Stamatakos. He's one of our main writers and contributors on the Blue Abroad website. And the timing was right. The timing was right. We had to get him on for an episode. Ari, welcome, mate.
Thanks for having me, Terry. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It's been a long time coming.
I know. It's been a while, but it's good to be on.
Yeah, I think the timing was right because a lot of the Carlton People episodes up until this point have been done prior to the new, we'll call it the new regime, the Michael Voss, Luke
Yeah,
Sayers, Brian Cook regime. So it's good to get you on here to chat about, well, first of all, your Carlton story, and then when we get to what's going on right now, we can talk about the future. But give us a snapshot. Who are you and where you from?
well, I think the surname gives it away. Greek background,
Mm,
so um, there wasn't really a choice for my dad when he was growing up about what team.
hmm.
Especially, he grew up in Brunswick, so if you know the area, then it's not very far from Princess Park. So that was his first real introduction into footy, and then yeah, that means me and my brother had no choice. So that's why I think that's how most people, especially my age and even older, get into or like support their footy team. It's
Yeah.
it's it's your parents, so yeah.
100%. It gets passed down, and then then you got the burden of the responsibility to make
Uh,
sure that one day when you have kids or when we have kids that they follow the tradition. It's really the only way to keep the fan base growing.
yeah, it's the only way. I think it's the right way as well. Gets
Yeah,
that tradition in.
agreed. So, what's your first Carlton memory? How far back does your memory span go?
Um, I'm born in '04, so I don't remember
Wow.
the I don't remember the '05, 6, 7 periods when we were pretty bad.
Mm.
My first memory, I think, sets the tone for my whole Carlton experience. It was the 2009 elimination final.
Okay.
So that heartbreak against Brisbane. Um, I don't I don't necessarily remember the game. I remember the circumstances and how we lost, like being up and then the capitulation in the last quarter. But I think it's more the fact that I was at a cousin's house watching it, I believe, and all Collingwood supporters. So I was only 5 at the time, but I was copping it. So I got I got taught young to deal with it. But yeah, that's probably my first and one of the more traumatic memories being a Carlton supporter.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting. I haven't interviewed too many people in your bracket where, '09 is sort of the
Yeah,
beginning of your memory. I mean, it probably doesn't really kick in week to week, moment by
yeah,
moment until I don't know, like by 2013, you had a pretty
yeah.
good memory of what was
20,
going on.
2013 is where I can like remember games, and maybe like 2012 as well to an extent.
Yep.
But 2013 is where I can start remember watching individual games, and then like from 2015 onwards, it's pretty clear.
Yeah. So who were your early players, heroes that you latched
I
onto and
think
took a liking to?
I think Judd was the main one. I think purely because when you're young watching the game, you don't necessarily understand it
Yeah.
now. You don't understand like how it works. You just kind of get the players. And I just knew as like an 8-year-old that whenever Judd got the ball, something was going to happen. Something good was going to happen. He'd dominate games. And then obviously Betts as well. I think I was always a small kid growing up, so seeing this small forward running around dominating games, kicking eight, doing ridiculous things, it gave me some form of hope. I'm not sure what for, but it gave me some form of inspiration, and I found an attachment to him pretty quickly. So yeah,
Yeah, he's got that magic about him. It was
yeah,
I look back now that he's retired, like, it was obviously very sad that he left and we didn't get to really enjoy the best years of his career in terms of his performance at Carlton. But I think we'll look back as history, writes itself, and I think we'll be very grateful that he did come back and finish his career with us.
I wouldn't have sat right if he had
No.
gone and didn't come back the way he did. So, although there was no finals football in his second half of his time, it
Yep.
was still good to. I think it was good for I'm just going to speak selfishly, but for me to see him now, where I can understand the game a bit more, seeing him as a Carlton player, he was like one of the very few players that still turned me into that 8-year-old at the footy whenever he did something. So yeah, it was good to see him back.
Yeah. What's your greatest game that you've been to, or greatest memory?
I went. I know that I went to the 2011 elimination final
Okay.
against the Bombers, but I
Great game.
don't remember it. Yeah, I don't remember it that well. Probably there's this game that sticks out in my head. 2013 against North, we won by a point. It was towards the latter stage of the season where we needed to win to keep finals alive, and I just have that game really sticks in my mind. And then I've not been to too many really good games. Probably that's pretty sad if you think about it, but
That's really sad.
probably 2019, the game against St Kilda under Teague. So I think that was Daisy's last home game.
It was. That was
yeah.
So weird how that game sticks out. It sticks out for me too, because we were seemingly building towards a 2020. The way we finished 2019, taking it to the good teams and just falling short. And then we were winning, games like that. And then I remember that day at the MCG, it was like 55,000 people, dead rubber, neither of us playing finals. But it kind of reminded me that what's to come when these guys, when this group figures it out and starts playing good footy. And I think that's kind of why 2020 and 2021 have been so weird, because 2019, it just the vibe and the energy and like the crowd, like it was all coming together, and almost feels like the last 2 years have just not happened, or like I don't know what's happened.
Well, it's bizarre because that game kind of sticks out in my mind because it's one of the loudest footy games I've ever been to. Like, it was seriously ridiculous, the noise, especially towards it. Like when Kai kicks that goal on the run, it's like something else, the noise, right? 55,000 sounded like 75, 80. Like, it was ridiculous, right? And it's kind of like that's a pretty vivid memory in my head. And then 2020 and then the majority of 2021 they're just kind of like flashbulb memories. Like, I don't know what it is. It's probably because of the disappointment, like the promise we showed and then the disappointment for those 2 seasons. I can't quite remember it as clearly. Whereas like that whole pretty much second half, well, when Teague came in 2019, like that Brisbane game, the Adelaide game at the G, like these games I can remember very well. And then 2020, 2020 didn't help that. No, we didn't go to any games. And then 2021, even the games we did go to, I can't really, like nothing really sticks out. So yeah, I don't know. It's annoying. It's tough, but yeah.
I think also because we always seem to be behind the 8 ball. So when we do win, it's kind of like, all right, we just made up for whatever we did the week before and disappointed. But anyway, we're going to have to move on. We've got no choice. Let's talk about the current crop, the current build, because this all kind of began with, the Jacob Wiedering 2015 draft. That was kind of like the new era, the decision to go heavily to the draft and invest there and whatnot. So what's your observations of the group? We're entering, year 7 now of this new era, even though we've now done another little pivot and gone into another little mini new era. But what do you make of the makeup of the team, the club? What's your take?
It's weird because, like you said, we're in our 7th year. Yeah, I think our list has gotten younger. We've lost 4 players over 30. So that's going to be very interesting to see how the younger like the real youngins deal with that. I think they're going to have to mature very quickly, and that's going to be a test for them. So like anyone from like that 2017 onwards draft is going to have to turn into players. They're going to have to play above their age because we have one player over 30, so we need that maturity to come from like the youth now, which is bizarre because when you look at all the big teams, the teams that are at the top at the moment, their youngins didn't get smashed as bad as ours did.
Mm-hmm.
So how do they learn from those, like pretty much anyone that was in that 2018 team and then like the early 2019 side? How do they deal with that, but then having to mature so quickly and become players in a final side? That's going to be really interesting. I mean, the captains as well is going to have a big say in that. Like, there's no expectation on Doc this season, but for Cripps, he's going to have to carry an even bigger burden on the captaincy because he doesn't have like a Murphy to turn to or a Betts or even a Jones, who are these experienced players. He's kind of the most experienced player and he's the captain and he's had a pretty average captaincy run in terms of his level of performance once he's gotten the captaincy. So it's going to be interesting to see how our list matures, because I think our list is better. Like our ability is better. That's pretty much undisputed. But the mental side of things is where it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be an interesting watch and see how they develop. So.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you're right. We lost, the Murphys, the Bettses, the Casbolts, the Joneses, the guys who'd been in the thick of the system for a while. They've been Carlton people for a long time. And now we have, and I think we spoke about it, many fans spoke about it, over the last few years about, well, we don't have really too many players on the list who are a little bit older, who have got finals experience, premiership experience, who can pull up players on what to do here and what to do there. I think we also had a pretty inexperienced coaching group who also hadn't really come from too much success. So it looks like we've rectified that. And you kind of hope that like the environment of the new coaching group, they've all come from great programs and they've been successful in their own right, a bit more experience, a bit more senior. You kind of hope that environment that they're able to cultivate allows our youngsters to mature quickly. But I think this is a young man's game or a young woman's game. It's a young person's sport. And I hope more than what I think. I'm hoping that we've got good characters that we've drafted and who are now entering that 5th, 6th, 7th year, who play and who carry themselves a little bit older than what they are. Sam Walsh is the example. I even think like a Liam Stocker, they're mature. They're not little babies that get in stupid little. You don't see too many stupid little off-field issues happen with them. They kind of had their heads screwed on. So it's a good call.
I think what you said about Walsh and Stock, them, especially Stock, who hasn't been in the side as consistently as other players around his age period, him showing that maturity will, like other players will look at that and think, all right, if he's got his head screwed on, why don't I? I'm like whoever, I'm playing more senior footy, I'm getting more opportunities, yet this kid's more mature than me. All right, I need to fix up and do that. And then they can like learn off each other, breed off each other, and like really grow together. I think because of those characters like Walsh, Stock, and even Mackay and even Wiedering, right? These kids who are so mature already, our other youngsters will learn off that and will see them conduct themselves in a certain way and then hopefully replicate it.
Yeah. That's another thing as well, where I think it's going to work in our favour, because in years gone by, there's been, quite a gap when a new draftee comes in to like the senior players, quite a gap in the age. Whereas now there just isn't. Like I think our average age of across the list now is like 24. So you look at a guy like Sam Walsh or Liam Stocker, new draftee comes in and they can relate a lot better to a guy that's only 3-4 years at max older than them. Like Jacob Wiedering is now all of a sudden one of the older heads. So it's a very interesting dynamic, and I guess we'll see how it all plays out once the games come around. But who are the players for you that you latch onto now, that your personal favourites?
Obviously, Walsh is probably the easy answer. I just think it's easy when you're the best to have everyone like you. Obviously Stock. Like I think Stock is the people's favorite. I think it's pretty unanimous in not only the way he plays. I think the way he plays is the reason why that can't. He's the only player last year who consistently showed the same level of mentality, like the same mentality throughout the season. And then it's hard because they're all so young. And because on a personal level, I'm turning 18 soon. I'm starting to relate, especially with the young draftees more. I understand them a bit more in terms of. It's kind of weird because I don't know them, but yet I feel like I do in a way. So any of the really young kids like that have come through, I always look towards and I always hope a little bit more that they succeed. But I think any of this, like, I think your favorite player comes from your personal, experience. I think that's my take on things. It's like that's why I loved Betts growing up because of the way that I am as a person, lended myself to enjoy the way Eddie Betts played. So I think continuing that trend, any of the small forwards, I think Josh Honey, Corey Durden is so exciting. Like they are the next thing to Betts that we haven't had. Because since he left the first time, there's been a void there. So hopefully they can turn into players of and obviously Eddie Betts is the best small forward to ever play the game, or one of, definitely. So if they can turn into half the player that he was, then I think that's going to be good for our hopes in the future.
Yeah.
But and then the likes of Zach Fisher, I still think Will Setterfield has something to prove.
100% with you on that.
Paddy Dow frustrates me a lot because like he shows like that first quarter against Fremantle last year, the second time was like the best I've seen him play for a period of time, and you can tell that he has that in him, but he struggles to. I'm not sure if it's a confidence issue or if it's maybe even a coaching issue, especially with. I'm not sure what was going on there, but if he can find that form consistently and play, because think about it, he was taken higher than Chera. So he obviously has that talent, and we've brought Chera in. So that's kind of it'd be a weird dynamic for him, having to think, oh, I was picked higher than this guy. This club has spent big money to get him. I've got to pull my finger out, type of thing. So yeah, and then obviously Mackay and Wiedering, we've lacked those two pillars for a long time. So seeing them do what they've done is very, very exciting.
It's crazy, man. Wiedering and Mackay are coming into year number 7. You can make the case that we're already at halfway through their careers. You know, they've only got half of it's done. And look at someone like Cripps, like he's now entering the final third of his career, which is crazy. You know, like I'm 30, so I've now fully experienced one entire like generation of a career from start to finish. So let's say Mark Murphy type, like 2005 onwards. Like I've seen a draftee come and then retire. So it's crazy because you only really like I still think of Murph as the kid. He was the kid for me. I think for you as well. Like Walsh will be the same thing. It's like, oh, this young gun, and then they get older, but you don't really ever see them as like older. You always remember them as the young ones. So it's a really interesting experience for me, and I'm sure you'll have your own take on it as well.
I think I've
So,
already. That's right. I think I've already had that with Cripps a little bit.
yeah,
Because I remember his. I'm not sure if it was his debut, but it was his breakout game against St Kilda in 2014. I think I remember that very well. And then it's kind of a weird parrot-like thing because I remember that well. I remember his early parts very well, and then when he was good in that 2017 to 19, I don't remember that as well. Probably because we were terrible.
Terrible.
And then now I'm starting to remember, and not only remember, but I'm starting to think, oh, he's got it. Like in 2017, he was Brown, like 3-time Brownlow medalist, premiership player, premiership captain, all this type. He's coming towards that stage where he needs to kick on, and I just pray and I hope that he finds that form again, because he was so dominant in the side that was so bad. So imagine now with proper help, proper coaching, and a proper team around him, because it's all good having help in the midfield when you've got nothing to kick to and nothing to protect you. Now we've got both of those. Imagine how good he can be now.
You hope so. Yeah, you hope so. You do, as I mentioned at the top of the show, you've done a lot of writing for the website. What's your experience been like in this, relatively new space, this new way of doing media with sports teams and, with fan channels and, the opportunities that are now here today were not the opportunities that were there, when I was finishing year 12, for example. So what are your interests and why do you write? What makes you like sports media?
Probably because sport is like the one thing that I really get on I really understand. I think I've never been the best sportsman, put it that way.
Yeah.
So I thought, if I can't play it, can at least talk about it. And I just loved, like, if you ask my brother, I annoy him so many times just speaking about anything related to sport, like the round ball game, footy, anything, right? So I emailed you midway through 2020. I thought, why not? I was sitting on that email for like 3 weeks. I was like, should I just send it? I was like, yeah, why not? And then it just kind of stemmed from there. And then once I started doing it, I started loving it more.
Yeah.
And so it just kept going, and then I started writing more about the round ball, which is good fun. And it just kind of has progressed naturally throughout that time period, really.
No, it's good, man. Like I remember so clearly year 12, year 11, year 12, you pick, what do you want to do? I knew I wasn't going to be doing a trade. I knew I wanted to go to uni. At that time we were still in that era of, pick one of the 28, 29 jobs that you have on offer, ranging from every industry. And then you just do that for 40 years and then you die, or 50 years and you die. And I remember, like, I've always been obsessed, like a different feeling when it comes to sport, Carlton and just everything. But I didn't, like, there wasn't such a pathway like what there is now. And I remember I did law because it was my favorite subject. Then I started working. And then I think, when AFTV came about, that's when it kind of hit me like, what's going on? Like, something was going on. I didn't know what, because I didn't grow up with it. I like, the iPhone came out 2007. I was in year 11. So social media and Facebook and Instagram, we're talking like 2011, 2012-ish, where it really started taking off. And then you start getting into where we are today. So I find it really interesting to see your experience. And I guess, like, you've had a little bit of time, you would be you've had digital in your life your whole time?
Yeah, pretty much.
Fascinating. See, I'm probably one of the last generations where I remember before digital and internet really, really took over, an iPhone, and then afterwards as well. So, like, I was like a teenager, like I was your age when it all began, so we were the guinea pigs of Instagram and all of that. So at the start, it was like, cool, there's this thing, and we all just share what we do. And I find, maybe you can give me some insight into the mentality. I find now the next generation that come through, they're a little bit more low key with it all. They're a little bit more, we're going back to not oversharing, but just like sharing proper things or sharing in a different way. Can you talk on that?
I think that's pretty spot on, because
Yeah.
I think that initial buzz, which I think you guys felt in like 2013, 14, and then it like went super hyper in like 20 whatever, like the mid 2010s. Now it's just dying off a little bit. I think I'm experiencing it now with my friendship group. Let people using social media less, from what I've experienced anyway, which I think is a good thing. I do think it's a good. I do think social media itself is a good thing in terms of the way it connects people. Like without social media, I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't be here. You probably wouldn't be here either. So it's like you have it to thank, but then also it is damaging, like very damaging if you use it in the wrong way, if you overuse it. So I think people are starting to wise up to the dangers of it, like these days. So yeah, it has gone a little bit low key in terms of.
I like it.
So
so yeah, like I said, like when it all came out for me, it was like, boom, look at this. We can share everything we want. We had no idea. We just got involved. And then I've noticed now, because my brother's, he's nearly 11 years younger than me. So I watch and I notice his behavior. And like, I see now Instagram profiles with however many followers, but no posts. And it's like, that's when I really started noticing like what's going on. And I like it. I always found, I mean, one thing I've learned is for business, there's never been anything better in the history of mankind than the internet and social media. But I think when it comes to relationships, not only with each other, but with oneself, I think that's where the balance is needed. It really is. So, and I think there's this weird notion as well, which I really don't like it, but there's this weird notion from like generations past that like the young kids of today are lazy or they're whatever. I could not disagree more. I mean, you're one of the few. There's quite a few of you. Like you have this ambition, and you've got so many more options now for what you can do. I find you guys to be super driven.
Yeah, I think it's the tools we have available now. We've realized, we can really do something. And I think it's kind of just speaking personally, like I don't know what like Nathan or from Current Rap or Kira think about what I'm about to say, but I think it's a little bit of a burden on us, not in a bad way, but to use these tools to do something. We've got like, this is really incredible if you think about it, what we can do. So I feel like there's an expectation on me to really make the most of these resources and the opportunities that we have available to forge a career as best I can. So that's my point of view on the way that social media has changed not only journalism itself, but the way that people connect with media. There's a lot more two-way communication now. I'm going to sound really young, but like in the 90s, early 2000s, it was more you sit down at 7:30 and you watch the news that goes till 8:30, and then you're done. You read the paper as well. It's not. There's no two-way communication. It's I'm watching what Channel 7 has decided that I'm watching. Whereas now it's like, I don't want to watch that. I want to watch Netflix. There's 50 million movies I can watch. I can go watch the news from Grace if I want to. I can do all of these different options where I can seek out what I consume. And not only that, I can now critique what I consume. I can now comment on what I consume, which is a good thing if it's used properly. Obviously, it's never used properly because the way the world is, right?
Well, humans are flawed. That's the reality.
Yeah,
so we end up fucking up everything.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like we have, if you think about it on a really base level, social media is insane.
Yeah.
Like I can literally message a friend from Greece right now and he can respond like that.
Mm-hmm.
yet we've somehow turned this into like we've got to use it less. Oh, we've got to use it less. We can't use it enough. We're not using it properly. It's like, how do we do that?
Yeah. So when it comes to sports media, how do you see this all playing out? Because I think we're in I mean, especially in Australia, like I've had the privilege of living overseas and seeing how things are happening there in the sports industry, like face to face. And then I understood maybe a little later than some how conservative and how delayed everything comes to Australia.
Yeah.
I have my take on where this all goes, but I want to know from your point of view, how do you see sports media in 5 years, 10 years?
Like it is now, but better. Like in
Yeah.
terms of this online sphere. Like from what I've seen, if I like use AFTV for example, right? They wanted to be like the TV, to
Mm-hmm.
put in base terms, because that's the only thing that they could aspire to. It was the only
Yep.
precedent that's really been set. But now they've realized, oh wait, we're completely different and we're better. And I think what you're doing with this is very similar to that. And now, if you look at TV, they're trying to be more like us or you, for example, right? That's why you look at like streaming platforms are now taking over. Like not like very people don't have a TV anymore. Like in a very traditional sense. New media is, and because of how quickly it evolves, new media is going to become old media quickly. This is going to become old, and we're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to evolve, just like the traditional media hasn't. Like mainstream media has not evolved, or if it has, very slowly. And I think that's why the new media, the social media, like phenomenon, really is taking off as well as big as it is, because people want to consume proper content, like
Yeah.
not mainstream media, washed, cliche, advertiser friendly content. Like no one cares about that anymore.
Mm.
People want to hear raw, honest, um, uncut, like unfiltered. It doesn't like I'm not necessarily meaning like you're swearing and abusing everyone, right? I just mean honest, like
Real.
compassionate content. Yeah, real content.
Yeah.
Not what like what you see on some mainstream media shows.
Yeah, I mean AFTV is a big one for me. Obviously, massive inspiration, but there are still things about AFTV. Like I'm trying to like take it's really the blueprint of AFTV and all those fan channels, but I want to have a little bit of my own twist on it because we're a different culture here, we're different people
Yeah.
here. We're similar, but we are a little bit different. And then like over some time, like you watch mainstream media and you look at the culture, like we've gone from this culture of journos and like what made you a good journo was what story you could get. And what good story you could get meant you had to be fishing for something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want a headline. I don't care for clickbait.
Yeah.
I
So,
care for
yeah.
commenting on what's happened as opposed to trying to come up with something to create hype and whatnot. So
Yeah.
my mentality is more like let life happen, or in our case, Carlton, let the games happen, let the news happen, the facts, and then we can comment on it rather than trying to predict too much. And we've gone like mainstream journos in the past have it's all been about like asking the hard hitting questions and can I get him here and can I really corner them there? Like I don't really care for that. That doesn't really interest me because that's how
Yeah.
you create issues with people. And
Yes.
then I think your comment about being real and unfiltered is like on the surface level, people think, oh gosh, you got to be careful. People are going to say what they want. But when you look at fan cams, for example, like very rarely, if at all, does anyone really say anything where it's like, fuck, we've got to shut this thing down,
Yeah. Yeah. When people are given a free forum in a space they feel comfortable in, they're not going to do anything bad.
Yeah.
Or majority of the time. Obviously,
Yeah.
there's some people, but yeah, like that's why when you have people calling up on like a radio station or like go in the background of news bulletins or whatever, right? That's when they be idiots because
Mm.
they have that mentality of, oh, I can do something wrong, let me do that. Whereas here, like you can say within reason whatever you want, and it's accepted. Um, I think what you said about the headlines is very poignant. It's like it was what headlines can you make. Now it's what stories can you tell. And I think that's probably the motto, in a sense, that I try to use and like to motivate myself. So it's about asking, it's about telling you what happened, but why? Why is this happening? And it's even as simple as, like, on a very, very base level, why has this coach done this in a game? Why has he done this tactical switch? Or why has this player left this club? Yeah, you can, or like, why, like, a contract negotiation, right? You can get that headline: X player doesn't re-sign with their football club. That's good. Like, that's going to come out eventually, right? But why? No one really tells and asks why that's happening and what are the ramifications for that for both sides. I think that's something that mainstream media hasn't evolved with. That's what the new media has not only identified as important, but has progressed and targeted and used to, like, become a better source of content than mainstream media.
100%. No, it's great. Let's go back to our club. Let's forecast. This is the first. You're the first one I'm doing this with because it's the timing's right. 2022. We're filming this on the 10th of December 21. How many wins are we having in 2022? We've just got the fixture.
14.
I love it. When I read that, I was stoked.
I thought. I mean, last year I said we win 13 or something, so maybe not. But you gotta be bold. To be great, you got to be bold. And
you do. You know, I'm starting to get, like, because I'm always an optimist, but the last 18 months, I'm starting to feel that it get to me. Like I push it away and then I become optimistic again. But like for the first time in my life, I'm starting to get not cynical, but just like, how many times can I be optimistic before getting let down, before I become cynical, you know?
Yeah. I think, yeah. I've felt that, and now I think I've tipped the other way. Now I've tipped to the, I don't care anymore. I think we're going to do it. Like, who cares?
If it happens, it happens.
Yeah, I think why I said 14 was because I think Voss is going to come in and have completely different expectations. Voss is going to come in. I can guarantee you the word. I probably can't guarantee you, but I can. I wouldn't be surprised if Voss has said the word finals, and not only finals, premiership in this off season and when he's coming to the club, because 3-time premiership captain in one of the best sides ever. I'm sorry, he's like, with all due respect to David Teague, fine AFL career, but he was no Michael Voss. He had no expectations like Michael Voss does and will have. So I think the boys are going to be in for a shock. I think because I think he understands and realizes the ability of this list, because it's a fucking talented list. Like, we've got really good players in a multitude of positions. It's just we haven't been able to put it together, and I think Voss will have high expectations for us to put that together. And when we do, I think 14 is going to be a number where this time next year, when we look at 2023, we would be disappointed to only have 14.
Do you want to spin out hard? The last time I remember us winning more games than we lost in a season was 10 years ago, 2011. That's the last time we won. Like, for 10 years, I've watched us lose more than we win. And I'm thinking, as you're saying, 14, like, I agree with you. I think I've got us down for 12. I'm being conservative. But when we do have the first of, I hope, many seasons where it's like above 500, can you imagine how much fun we're all going to, like, we're already having fun. Like, it's pretty fun, you know, a bit of a community with therapy, all of that's funny. But like, when we're actually good, this is going to be so much more enjoyable.
Yeah. It's going to be, you can already tell that it's going to happen, because of our response to when we lose.
Yep.
And even not only here about our games, we're getting good crowds and we're rubbish.
Yeah.
Imagine when we're half decent.
It's true.
Like not even good. Like not even premierships. Imagine when we're winning a final every year or 2 finals.
Yeah.
We're gonna pack out 70K to G every game. Or
Yeah.
hopefully. But
that's why I know that there's this old sentiment of, oh, can we play games at Princess Park? We can't. There's too many of us. You're limiting so many people to go to games if you go have a game at Princess Park.
I spoke about this with my dad. I would love to see it. So, purely because I've never been to a game. Like not even I need to go to an AFLW game there first. But
yep, you do.
But I would love to go, and I think like with all due respect, against games like with GWS and Fremantle, they're the only games we could, and depending on time slot, like a Sunday 1:10 against GWS,
brutal.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many people are going to go to that if it's at the G or even at Etihad. If you were to play any game at Princess Park, it'd be that. But I think this is your. To be honest, I think last season was the only season where you could, because now there's no chance. Especially if we start winning, like properly, there's no chance.
No, well said. Well said. Last question before I let you go. Everyone gets the same one. When are we lifting up this cup? Which year? And who's lifting the cup up? I'm going to add that in. Who's going to be the player lifting the cup up with the coach?
I think it will be season 2024.
Okay.
I think we'll have a progression. We'll progress this season. 2023 will be our heartbreak. I think to have the ecstasy, you have to have the heartbreak.
I'm with you on that.
And I think 2024 is the time, and it will be Michael Voss and Sam Doherty lifting the cup.
Oh, love it. Poetic. Ari, been a pleasure, mate. I've really enjoyed this. You're a massive commodity to the Carlton community. Stay hungry, stay humble, keep up the great work, and we're looking forward to watching you grow up right before our eyes.
Thanks, mate. Cheers, Taz.